we in fact had our little Halloween party, and in particular, we put up a video of a Halloween game that we played, and we just put up the playthrough of it, so this is going to be our discussion of our actual impressions of the game. It's 10 Candles, the RPG where you have 10 candles, and every round, when someone fails a challenge, you blow one out, and once the candles are all dark, everyone's dead. And that's it. It's a horror game where everybody dies.
Spoilers, that's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, unless you tweak the rules, which you could do if you really wanted to.
Or unless you have godly rolls somehow.
Yeah, and your game continues forever. But we do have this video on our channel. It's our Halloween video this year. I recommend you go watch it. It's 2 hours long, but it's a fun RPG. So if you want to get a sense of what we're really talking about right now, that will help you out. But generally, we'll talk about our impressions of the game. I was the GM, but this is an interesting kind of game because as opposed to other RPGs, I feel like even though I was the GM, our experiences are pretty similar because there's no prep for the GM.
Yeah, and honestly, we're writing as much of the story as you are, so to speak, depending on dice rolls.
If not more. I mean, the players share equal storytelling rights, really. So it's very interesting in that way. I also think this makes a great beginner game for a new GM because of that. It's very easy to get into. And I feel like if we were to play again, you could easily GM if you wanted to, because
I'm that bad.
You basically know everything there is to know now. It's very easy for both sides. But I mean, I'll start as coming into it, not really knowing exactly how it would feel, but knowing that you guys were going to write most of the story. In case you haven't watched the video, the way it works is if a challenge is succeeded by the player and they rolled more sixes than I did, they get to tell the outcome of their roll. As the game goes on, it's more likely that I'm going to have more dice, I'm going to be rolling higher than them, so I'm more likely to get to narrate the outcome of their story. And at first I thought this is great.
And in addition, each round after a fail, you change a round. Each person, depending on the number of candles, gets to add a fact, including you.
Right.
So that can also change the story.
Yes, you get to say a truth which progresses things in some meaningful way. And the sky's the limit. It's not like you can say, I found a great item. You can say a monster appeared. Like, you can really do whatever you want.
They did the mash.
Exactly. Anything can happen. It's Halloween. Who knows? So I was thinking this is a great, because normally when I've DM'd for us before, it's and you've done it for us too, it can be scary because you don't know what's going to happen. You have to improvise a lot. You prepare as much as you can, but at least I'm always a little nervous because I don't know if something's going to go wrong. I'm going to think of something that's not cool. So for this, it was, as a DM, you just get to kind of hang out, and at least for the first half of the game, everybody else tells the story for you. What I did find as time went on, though, was the flip side of that is there were times where I was a little frustrated because if I did have a cool idea and the person succeeded on the roll, I would lose that opportunity to put that into the narrative.
Not only that, if they failed on a roll. I mean, we had one round that literally failed during the first roll, so you couldn't even do anything really.
That's gonna happen. Yeah, right. So you'll change scenes, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I kind of thought of a plan for this area, but you guys just moved on and left. Which in a normal RPG, of course, can happen, but you have more freedom to be like, to then go back
or cause consequences for them leaving it.
Consequences, or even like, oh, they didn't go here, but you know what? The left path also led to there. You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of cheat a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't do that as much in this game. So it was a very interesting storytelling experience. It really is a shared experience. There almost isn't a GM, even though there is. It's still a necessary component, but it's very different.
There are some things compared to other RPGs which I think you need to know with your group beforehand. One, because everyone's dying, everyone needs to know that their character is going to die. Don't get attached, and don't plan to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the superhero.
Yeah, I thought I was clear about this in our group. I'm pretty sure I was, but we did have one player who, at the end, was sort of like, "Wait, we're all gonna die? Can I not die?" No, you're gonna die.
No. The other thing is that, and if you forget to tell this, they'll get angry. The real fun not comes from trying to make sure your character wins because you know they're gonna die, but by telling a good story. So, for example, you and I made it so there's a point in the story where, in essence, we close off a path. I did it, then you did it right after. I'm like, oh, okay, he's really making sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
And the person got very angry at that.
Right. You have to be willing to hurt yourself in this game. It really is a game of telling a good story because you can't win. So the only thing you can do is tell a good story. And I do think by the end of our game, we did have kind of a cool. You basically are just writing a little horror movie, a little 2-hour horror movie.
And while this one probably doesn't seem too much to some people, I think it's always probably a good idea. As a story maker, who are sitting next to you actually matters. So if you have someone to you, who is very creative, make sure they're sitting to your right.
Right.
Because they're the one who designed what do they call them?
The creatures, them or they, that are involved.
And I think by making sure you have someone who's definitely in on the storytelling will give you something really cool and interesting. I actually think my monster was pretty cool. I gave you. It's just the problem is we weren't able to really use it to as well as we could have. I feel.
Yeah, it was one of the tough things.
It's still a good story, but
yeah, I like it. Sometimes I was like, oh, they're taking too long, and then sometimes, oh wait, it's too rushed. Hold on. So yeah, it's hard to. You got to get a handle on those kinds of things. But I think overall it worked out pretty well for us. Another thing that I want to comment on is the fact that it's a horror game, and your story is going to be literally and figuratively dark. And for me, that was kind of a challenge because I'm used to doing our D&D campaign where it's usually very funny and lighthearted and goofy. I've never really personally attempted to scare anybody.
Well, I guess
and you kind of have that from the End of the World.
Yeah, because the one I GM'd, it was my first time, so it was very, very rocky. But a good experience nonetheless. Everyone's got to start somewhere. It's supposed to be zombie horror, so I tried to make it horror. Unfortunately, the problem there was I really underestimated how much a bump in a stat made, which caused someone to just start guaranteeing kills and that.
Right.
So you guys weren't really swarmed, which is why the next part I was going to be much more darker for all of you and stuff, and I may have said that you were all going to lose half of your skills.
You guys also had a bunch of guns in this scenario, but it didn't really help you that much. They didn't.
No, because I kept failing the rolls.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aspect of it for sure. If you're, it depends on your personality, and our game was pretty goofy. People were definitely telling some, and I think also towards the end it was kind of late and people were getting tired, which made them a little loopier.
I also think it's an issue. I don't know if this is the time for that conversation of there's certain characters you never want to see in an RPG. At least my experience. I'm sure people out there can tell me otherwise.
Yeah, that could be another discussion. But in general, I do think it kind of applies to this game just from. It is a game that I was anticipating, this is going to be dark and spooky, but it's hard when you're, at least for our group, I think, when you're with your friends, you're tempted to just joke around a lot. But I think we balanced it okay. I think there was maybe it was 50-50 dark and jokey, which is all right. And the fact that it's going to be dark with candles while you play does help.
Oh yeah, ambiance always helps for anything.
A lot, yeah.
And you could probably play some music if you weren't recording live.
Yeah, some spooky tunes would be helpful. It is a really fun game. I really enjoyed it. I think as a new GM or a new player. Very simple setup, and the fact that even if you're an experienced role-playing player, there's no setup. You can sit down and play it in one shot.
It's also a fun, different one shot, which is nice.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So you don't have to put all right, 2 hours building my character. All right, this is their family lineage, and
there's no session 0. You sit down, you hand out some cards, and you're like, let's go.
There technically is, but it's 5 minutes before the game.
Right.
That's it.
It's built in sort of to the setup. So 10 candles. If you check out our video, there's a link in the description where you can buy this game online. I'm sure they have it as a PDF or as the book. So if you're looking for something spooky ooky to play, that's a good bet. If you enjoyed this video, it was just a snippet of our full-length podcast, which you can find on our YouTube channel every week. So please go ahead, like, and subscribe for more board game-related content coming at you in the future.
And don't forget to check out RollForCrit.com, where we actually sell a lot of the games we talked about, as well as post news and all our other videos. Until then, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and this is Roll for Crit.